Good morning. Welcome back to our online classes and lectures. This is for Writing 321, Advanced Technical Writing. Appreciate, not seeing you guys, but I've been enjoying watching our interactions on our Facebook page. And this morning we're going to take a brief look at social media. So let me jump over here and fire up our slide deck. We're going to be talking about social media a little bit. This is where our content is being driven towards. I've asked you guys to prepare a presentation about your experience overall in the semester with your games, and now we're going to look forward to pushing our content towards social media. You're not actually going to do it, but I want you to think about where it would go. Social media is and can be defined as any website or application that enables people to create and share content and or to participate in social networking. Well, what is social networking? It's the use of these applications to interact with others, to network, to find people that have similar interests that you do, okay? So we have what is called the social media funnel. What do we mean by funnel? Well, we're trying to look out and see who might be out there that's interested in our content and funnel them into our product, into our application, into our social media sites, get them engaged, and have them become loyal users. So the first stage is awareness, to illuminate or make your potential and current audiences aware of what you have. You have a game, you've designed it, you've tested it at this point. Now you need to make people aware of it. The second level down, it's more narrow in the funnel. You have some consideration. You want to make sure that the audience remembers you. You stand out to them. Whenever they think about your topic, your game, they think of you. The next one is called the action step or conversion step, where the effectiveness of your social engagement capabilities are demonstrated. Then we get down to loyalty and engagement, which is where we have them in almost the narrowest part of the funnel, and this is how the audiences interact with your content. And then we have advocacy and consumer. They are linked in, they're locked into what you have, you're connected, and this reflects how active customers think and feel about your brand and then recommend it to others. Watch D'Souza's YouTube video that we posted earlier this week, Lou Dogs. What were the stories he told about getting his users connected? Well, One Direction came in, they had his food, boom. Within a very short amount of time, the people that follow One Direction, the fan base, had tweeted around the world, and he was more popular and famous and well known. Okay. Well, this slide shows us some of the social media driven applications out there, called the Conversation Prism. I borrowed this from conversationprism.com, as you can see in the lower right hand corner, and this wheel shows some of the apps and the types of social media that they are trying to get you to recognize. You have pictures, you have live casting, you have music, events, social networks. You see Facebook's icon up there. Discussions and forums. We see Google. Facebook has discussion forums. Down here we've got social curation, Pinterest. If any of you are crafters, video, Netflix. There's our friend Netflix and Hulu. We talked about those in my first video. Okay. There are many different kinds of social media websites. So one of the things you will need to do is think about your product in the vein of, here you are in the middle. You want transparency, commitment, value, purpose, and vision. And then you want people to think about your brand, your marketing, developing. Who are you? Why should they listen? What should they learn? And how should they adapt to what you have for them? Okay. So if we're talking about social media, we're on the internet. View my previous slides on how the internet kind of is working, how much capacity it has. Here's a picture of the global population as a whole. Earth right now, we've got about 7.75 billion people on the planet, 5.19 billion unique mobile phone users. So we have a very mobile-enabled user base. 4.54 billion, or 59% of the population, is a user of the internet. And This is a big number over here. This is what you need to think about. 3.8 billion, or almost half of the world's population, are active social media users. And remember that active is generally defined as having been on something in the last 30 days, whether you're an active Facebook user, Snapchat, or what have you. Okay? Internet penetration by region. These numbers show, and these are out of those 3 documents I've posted to both Moodle and the Facebook. I suggest you take a look at them. Very fascinating. Lots of numbers, lots of data, lots of graphics, infographics if you will, describing the conditions around the world based on internet usage and social media. Okay, this is done by a company called Hootsuite. I have merely copied and pasted a few of their pages from the report to the slide deck. You see up here in North America, 88% of our population has access to and uses internet. Down here to middle of Africa, 22%. So if you're thinking of driving your game towards middle African population, you might want to wonder how you're going to get that done. Okay? Here's a different view of our population. Here we have our 7.75 billion. You look, there's just slightly more males than females in the world. The population is growing at a rate of about 1.1%, and median age, the middle age, is 30.9. So I passed middle age, cough, years ago. Highly urbanized and very population density, and then you can see some literacy rates. So we're trying to drive our content towards a fairly literate population. This is a good thing. How is social media actually penetrating our population? You can see in the United States, number of active social media users compared to the whole population is right at about 70%. So we are very well ingrained in social media. Time of day spent using the internet worldwide, almost 7 hours, 6 hours and 43 minutes. The United States, 6 hours and 42 minutes. So you are trying to grab a piece of their attention that they're already on the internet a lot. Okay, you got the Philippines down here, almost 10 hours a day, and in Japan, 4 hours and 22 minutes. Okay. Daily time spent using mobile. So of those 6 hours and some change worldwide, okay, 3 hours and 22 minutes are spent doing mobile. For the US, it's 2 hours and 42 minutes. So almost half of what you're on the internet is done using mobile. Well, this plays into how are we going to convert our content. We're talking about games. The report has a game section. You can see that percentage of internet users, so look at some of the slides and other pages in the book, 81% of them pick any device. And we're talking age 16 to 64. Our smartphones, we're playing games on them. 69% of the population reported doing that. 41% are PC gamers, 25% are console, and then the smallest group down here, 21%, is using their tablet computer. Gaming related activities, sometimes they purchase it, 7.7%. We have our cloud gamers at almost 10%. Those have shared parts of their game with other people. We have live streaming here. I know Twitch is a streaming platform that people use. And then some people watch esports tournaments. That's up to 14%. Well, how does social media use compare around the world? Looking a few slides back, or again, look at that report. It's fascinating. 3.8 billion active social media users. Okay? That means 3.8 billion people have used their platforms at least once in the last 30 days. Okay? That represents almost half the population. But social media growth is almost 10% every year. Okay? And the total number of social media users accessing their accounts by mobile phones, 3.75 billion. Look at that. Almost 99% of them are doing mobile. So as you think about your game content, you need to think mobile. How are my users going to be doing this on a mobile device? Okay. Facebook page, and this is reach in 2019. This is an old slide. We're going to skip that. Facebook audience overall, we figure that almost 2 billion people can be reached with an advertisement on Facebook. Share of the population that's over 13 is 32%. We're moving up every quarter at about 1%, and the percentage that reports male, so slightly more than half of the Facebook users we're targeting are male. Okay. Instagram, they're approaching 1 billion advertisable people, and 15% of those report that they're over 13, so we got a young audience on Instagram. And you see these numbers. So the females outweigh the males by a slight margin on Instagram. If we look at Snapchat, they're smaller, but it's an interesting philosophy. You take a picture, you send it to people, or you can send a short video. You can put it on your story. Okay? There's your numbers. Again, check out that book. So some of you have said you are driving your content toward a younger audience, a grade school audience. Here's some numbers that I found for grade schoolers. Between 8 and 11, 35% of them have their own smartphone and 47% have their own tablet. And these numbers here reflect how they use those. 18% of these guys have a social media profile. I find this interesting because most of the social media accounts I have created have a checkbox to say that yes, I agree that I am over 13 years old. Curious. If you move up to the 12 to 15-year-old set, the numbers change a bit. And don't worry about this. I will post this slide deck if you can't read this in time. But the numbers are very, very interesting. Think about these as you do your reporting. Okay. Pew Research Center does a bunch of research on how people use and do things. You can see these charts. Some of this is repetitive from what we have seen before. But if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, YouTube, Instagram, and Snapchat are the most popular amongst teens. They say they use, and then they say they use the most often. So 80% of these teenagers use YouTube, and 32% of those say they use YouTube the most often. Okay, 69% use Snapchat. 35% of the people surveyed say they use it the most often. Okay. Now we see some growth in use of Facebook and YouTube. So how has it gone up? WhatsApp, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, etc. Now, this chart shows us digital audience penetration versus engagement of the leading social networks. Average monthly minutes per visitor and percent of the set that is between 18 and 34 years old. You can see that Vine and Tumblr, Snapchat down here, and you notice these numbers are a bit dated. This is 5 years ago, but even back then Facebook was the clear leader, and then you had these guys down here fighting for supremacy. Okay. These are some of the references of where I got this content. I will post some others in the notes that will go along with this slide deck. I always have to end with a pretty picture, so we know that the slide deck is done. I also believe that bacon cheeseburgers are far better than broccoli. So if you disagree with me, I don't care. All right. So interesting. Take a look at those reports I posted on Moodle. Take a look at the ones they are also posted in our Moodle deck. Please comment on this after you've watched it. I look forward to engaging you even in those little text boxes. You can like it if you want, but we would like to see your responses. How do you thoughtfully digest this stuff, and let's have a conversation. This is the end of this video. Thanks. I'm Luke Buckley, and we will see you later.